podcast with our host, Alan Porter. Alan, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. About 100 and some degrees here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It feels like not
Well,
quite
we
that
were in
hot, man. It's
we were
hot.
at 98 degrees in Pittsburgh and it's cooling down. I don't know what it's going to be as I hit the road for the first time in probably I guess a year in some change. I guess you only take a year off of no real road trips. If you only count one of my road trips, Alan, Ohio, I don't consider that a road trip. Do you? No. That's not. So this is a final real road trip. Okay, our title today is You Are Retiring. What do you do with your 401k? Alan, I've read in the USTA Today an article about what to do with your 401k after retirement. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did, Neil, but it's got many fallacies. It talks about leaving their money in the company 401k and how uneducated people are when it comes to making decisions, like what to do with that to affect their financial future. Neil, 52% of the people roll their 401ks out into an IRA, but it depends what kind of IRA they do that, and they're not educated on that. 31% have cashed their IRA, their 401ks out, and that leaves 17% leaving in the company. But the big problem with that is the company controls everything. They may increase fees, they may offer investments that you want, that you don't want, but you have to take those. There's many things that you lose control is what happens. But I tell you, it's really crazy. And this is in May of 2021. It was estimated that $1.35 trillion had been forgotten in 401ks. 1.35 trillion, Neil. That's huge. And it grows by 2.8 million each year. That's just crazy.
Alan, can you give me some examples?
Well, Neil, as we discussed before on many podcasts about the 401k plans, are a terrible place to invest in your retirement. It's even been outdated for like the last 2 decades. And Ted Binion, the author of the 401k, the one who invented it, said it's a monster and needs to be destroyed. There's things like, as I've said before, a 1% fee in your 401k over a 30-year period will reduce your income by 1/3. And the average fee in a 401k is over 2.99%. Now, people are going to have less than half their money when they go to retire, and then they're hit with taxes anywhere from 20 to over 55%. I mean, the other thing too, it's the risk in retirement that a 401k only compounds. People have no idea about this.
But Alan, they are retired now, and what can they do to improve what they have?
Well, I just wished I could have got a hold of them years ago, but here's things that you can do. First off, you need to diversify your assets. I'm not saying get all out of the stock market. Everybody needs to diversify your assets, but you need to become conservative when you reach retirement, because you can't afford to lose, because if you're in the market, you don't have enough time left to make up for whatever market loss is. Um, the other thing, you need to have guaranteed income, and you have to have increasing income. And it's just things like this that a stock portfolio is not going to provide you. They don't provide you guaranteed income.
That's crazy. Alan, I agree. They need to diversify and have guaranteed income in retirement.
Well, not only that, Neil, people need to understand it's not about the rate of return in retirement. It's about the distribution of your assets. You need to have different buckets of money in which to draw your retirement to eliminate distribution risk. I want to give you an example. Let's say that you have $1 million in a stock portfolio, okay? Now, at a 4% distribution rate, that's $40,000 a year. That is not guaranteed. And that used to be a safe distribution rate to last for 30 years. Well, now that's down to 2.8%. That's only $28,000 a year. Now, understand this. You would only have to have approximately $650,000 out of that stock portfolio in a certain fixed indexed annuity to give you the same $40,000 a year. And that's guaranteed for the rest of your life and your spouse's life. It doesn't make any difference who dies first. You're still going to get that money guaranteed for the rest of your life. And it has increasing income. And Neil, I don't care if that annuity runs out of money, the accumulation value runs out. You're still guaranteed that $40,000 increase in income for the rest of your life. And the thing is, it gives you more money for what you want to do because that leaves you another $350,000 to do with what you want. Now, Neil, you can pay the taxes on it, make it a Roth IRA. Now, there's no required minimum distribution. That's huge for people, but it does not. But it does not affect the taxation of Social Security or the means testing for Medicare Part B, which will be in the thousands per year. And I bet your financial planner or CPA have never told you that. And people need to have as much money in retirement as they possibly can. Now, I've heard medical costs go for anywhere from $350 to $385,000 for people who are 65 and over for their medical health care. They need this money to help pay for these things because they don't have to pay this money right now because usually they have their health care plans paid for. But the big thing, Neil, is they have to eliminate the risk in retirement. And I know these like the back of my hand. And number one, fear in retirement is running out of money before you run out of life. You can't do that with stock portfolio. Only cash value life insurance and fixed index annuities can do that, as far as I know. And even if that accumulation value runs out, you're still going to get your guaranteed income. But the other thing too, Neil, it's called sequence returns risk. And I just talked to 7 more people this last weekend when I was playing golf. They're 60 to 70 years of age. They have no idea what sequence returns risk is. And they have all of their money in a stock portfolio. And when I explained it to them, their jaw just kind of dropped. And I explained to them about the lost decade in 2000, about 2008 when the market lost 38 to 52%. People's style of life lifestyle changed dramatically. But their fee-based advisors don't ever tell them this. I've not had one fee-based advisor tell any of my clients about sequence returns risk because they make a fee whether the client makes money or not. And some of the other risk, longevity risk, which is a risk multiplier. Long-term care risk, which is absolutely huge. 70% of all Americans are going to need long-term care at some point in their life. And long-term care, Neil, right now costs between $50,000 to $200,000 a year, and it goes up by 6% every year. Tax risk, which without a doubt is huge. It gets rid of market risk. But long-term care risk with tax-free money, think about that, Neil.
Right.
People are not comprehending what that means.
No, this is the biggest epidemic reaching our country is how many older adults there's going to be. First of all, most of the wealth is 65 and older in the United States, and they're living longer, and no one has any plan for them. There's no plan, and I wouldn't expect the government to plan this, but ultimately there has to be better education to that 1/3 that are going to reach 65. That guess what? This is not your parents' retirement or your grandparents' retirement. It is a totally different thing. If you think you're retiring, you better be the 1% of 1% to think about it, because ultimately, even if you have a good nest egg, forget it. How the heck, if you're used to living on, let's say $700,000 a year or 800 grand, now you're going to live off $40,000? Alan, that makes no sense. That's a really a cutback, right? A pay cut.
Crazy. You probably couldn't even pay the utilities on the home that you purchased.
Right. And there are people, wouldn't I say, Alan, are making 500K, 800K a year that are in a pretty good position. But however, they don't have anything ready for the retirement, and they're not ready for the thinking, and they're going to retire. And then what money are they going to have? None.
That's exactly right, Neil. I found that people spend more time planning their summer vacation than they do their retirement. And the other thing I said, okay, you're going to work for 40 years to fund your retirement for the next 30 to 40 years. How are you going to do that? Well, never thought about it that way. I've had people who are 60 or 55 years of age and said, well, Alan, I haven't got anything saved for retirement. It's time for me to get. I said, no, it's time for you to get a lot sooner than when you're starting now, but it's not too late. We can still do things. But the people need to be educated. They need to think outside the box of conventional financial planning. They need to add fixed and fixed index annuities and cash value life insurance to these policies. I mean, these portfolios. Like I said, everybody needs to diversify, but you've got to have guaranteed income in retirement. You've got to have increasing income in retirement. You've got to protect yourself from long-term care costs for pennies on the dollar. That's tax-free. You've got to eliminate tax and government risk, which is absolutely huge. But the thing is, Neil, it's all about education. People are not educated on any of this. I would say 95 to 99% of everybody I've talked to include CPAs, attorneys, and financial advisors, have no idea what I'm talking about.
No,
And it's just like things that we've talked about before, Neil, like the effective interest cost that you're paying on your bill. I had one guy had no idea. He had 2.75% interest rate on his mortgage, but his effective interest cost was 49.76%. And basically, he had great credit, but the average effective interest cost on his car loans and his house was over 46%. And what we did was we eliminated all his debt in a 10-year period and set him up with a tax-free retirement in 10-year period. But Neil, the guy said, Alan, you made a dream of mine come true. But why don't people know about this? I said, it's not rocket science. It ought to be taught in high school, but it's not. And the last thing I told him, I've got doctors with PhD degrees in accounting and finance, have no idea what I'm talking about.
So let me jump into just thinking about this. If you go on social media, all they're talking about is $1 million stock portfolio. Honestly, that is not enough. No. I don't plan on ever retiring, but ultimately we should have a conversation about the people that don't plan to retire, however, want to go after a dream. That money's there for a dream. They could be still where they can go after new things and enjoy life even further. But again, 30 years, $1 million stock portfolio. So the average person, you said it's married or, doing well health-wise, are going to live 95, 100 years. And we're looking at 65 as retirement. That's 35 plus years till you pass away. How much money do you really need, Alan, if you want to live comfortably? And what is comfortably in this economy?
Yeah, because it keeps going up all the time. But here's the thing, Neil. The average person right now has, I believe, $232,000 or $35,000 in their 401k. How long is that going to last? That's all they've got.
It's not going to last long.
It's going to last maybe, depends on your standard of living. But I want people to retire in the standard of living they're living in now or better. But I want to educate people so they can set up a legacy for their family. I show people how to reduce and possibly eliminate both debt and taxes. I can set them up with a tax-free retirement. I also show people how they can become their own bank and eliminate the effective interest cost that they're paying on the money they borrow when they borrow from themselves and pay themselves back. But Neil, the other thing too is like we're talking about today, we can eliminate the risk in retirement. Got a stock portfolio, a bond portfolio, real estate, or money market funds only compound.
Right.
The other thing too, and I just started doing this year, is I can eliminate or greatly reduce healthcare costs. And I have a health wellness program that's equal to none. That's no cost to the employee, or excuse me, the employer, and gives the employee many, many benefits that actually gives them more money of tax-free money in their paycheck. Because it's already been proven that, people that are sick have cost employers over $312 billion a year in lost production. And people with these health wellness programs have an 8% better production rate, and the retention rate is 7% higher. And people just don't know about this.
Okay.
It all has to do with the tax codes.
So the best place right now is to go to is to contact you at 910-551-1046 or email you at strategicwealth0@gmail.com, and you'll answer your email quickly. It's not like somebody else is going to answer it. You're going to answer it personally. When a lot of people contact them, it ends up being something else. And hey, I'll get back to you at some time. You get back to your clients, and that's what makes you so great. Or go to strategicwealthstrategies.com right now and schedule a call with Alan today. Appreciate it, Alan.
You bet. Good talking to you, Neil.
All right. That was the Strategic Wealth Strategies podcast, guys. Take care.